Welcome back to Living in a Way. You know, in an ever-changing world, one that has become chaotic and uncertain, it has become even more important to find inner peace within the storm. And that is what we're talking about in today's Straight Talk with Risa and Edwina from Ho'oko LLC. Thanks, ladies, for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Okay, what is inner peace and how does that look? Why is that important?
Yeah. So inner peace is really when the mental and spiritual parts of oneself are synthesized. It's a state of calm, and it incorporates ample knowledge and understanding coupled with knowing who one is. And so when you have that duality going on, you're able to feel more grounded and strong. And that in turn allows a person to transcend what's been going on, whether major chaos or a little bit, you can transcend that and have a very deep sense of knowing that you're going to be okay when inner peace reigns.
There's so many different definitions. I think people can take it. It's tomato for a lot of people. But I'd like to know, what happens when one experiences inner peace?
Well, John, when a person experiences and lives in a place of inner peace, they tend to not overthink things. They don't dwell on the past, and they don't worry about the future as well, too. They're really in the here and now and in the present moment. There's a sense of freedom that they also carry as well, too, not living in a place of worry, guilt, or anxiousness. And there's really a quiet sense of confidence when folks have this type of inner peace. They function better in daily life, and they're really, as Risa was saying, they're really equipped just to take on whatever life challenges come their way. There's also a sense of just living in gratitude, and they also tend to have adequate to superior level of coping skills. They also tend to have healthier relationships, better friendships, and a higher level of self-esteem. So there's so many perks when someone chooses and they live in inner peace.
Okay, you talked about challenges. That leads me to my next question. What are some of the obstacles to finding inner peace, and what is the potential detriment of it?
Right. So some of the obstacles could include that you're not being in the present moment. You're not living in the here and now, but your mind is elsewhere and constantly focused on other things. Another obstacle is that you continue to keep toxic people in your life even when you shouldn't. There's also a not knowing who you are, having difficulty with identifying with that and understanding that, and also typically not being able to practice gratitude is an obstacle. Just focusing on things that you don't have instead of what you do have, and not being appreciative for things that are in your life. So those are some of the obstacles that come up. In addition, things that you might experience if these obstacles are in play are physiological symptoms, including fatigue, body aches, difficulty with sleep, restlessness, being more irritable, having mood swings, kind of those things, relational difficulties. So those are some of the things that we see if you are not able to practice inner peace.
I got to admit this real quick, that you just rattled off a couple of things, or a few things that I have, lack of sleep, there's a ton of stuff there. So that brings me to my next question. How do you find and practice inner peace?
There's different ways that we can do this, John. So one of the primary ways to really find inner peace or have inner peace is doing spiritual practice daily. For some folks, that may mean prayer, meditation, or just even being out about in nature. The main thing is, do you really want to go to a place that's still, quiet, and calm for yourself? In those moments too, just noticing, what can you be grateful for? What are you grateful for? And you might want to even write some of those things down, or even tell a person, the things that you appreciate about them. And the real thing is to really be able to embrace, the little things about life, things that you can enjoy. Whether for some folks it's like growing vegetables in the garden, and cooking it, and just, you're really overall trying to create a space for yourself that's really going to be for you.
As always, if somebody wants to know a little more about this topic or some of the many other topics that we have on KH12.com, if they've got questions about finding and practicing inner peace, how do they get a hold of you guys?
They can contact our office at 808-375-7712 or go online to www.hookollc.com.
Risa and Edwina, thank you for yet another great Straight Talk. We appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Much more on Living in a Way when we come back.